What moment made you say yep, I'm definitely dead, but survived with no major injuries? I was a senior in high school, and the student club I was in organized an unofficial beach trip towards the end of the year. No teachers or official permission, leaving me and a few other seniors in charge of supervising everything. After a couple hours worth of fun, one of the other students came running up to me and said that 3 of the younger members of the club had been swept out by a riptide and couldn't get back towards the shore. Me and 2 other of the older students, all experienced swimmers, immediately went to go help them. My friends got 2 of the 3 kids in trouble and started guiding them parallel to the shore to get them out of the current. But the guy I went for was panicking, barely staying above the water, and started dragging me down with him almost immediately. I yelled for people to get a lifeguard and tried to keep both of us afloat, but after a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, it felt like forever. I was getting exhausted, having trouble keeping both of us above the water, and I couldn't see anyone coming to the rescue. I started getting big mouthfuls of water and my leg muscles were starting to cramp up. And I remember thinking, holy shit, I might actually die right here, right now, as the current started pulling us further and further away from where everyone was. Thankfully for everyone involved, one of the students on the beach had flagged down a couple of surfers, who made their way out to where we were as quickly as they could and hauled first the younger student and then me onto the front of their boards and took us back to shore. I'll always be thankful and appreciative for those strangers who put themselves in the dangerous position of rescuing 2 drowning swimmers. Edit, as several people have pointed out, it's not uncommon for people to die doing what I did. Swimming into the water to rescue a drowning swimmer without training or equipment. There are a few techniques for rescuing someone drowning in the comments that everyone should learn if they're ever in the unfortunate situation of having to use them. I should have used them, but I was 17 and not thinking straight at the time and almost paid the price because of it. Tire pop going over a 2-lane road with steep drops on both sides. My car jerked to the side hard, and my car went sideways. Half my car hung over the side and luckily it's slow so it bottomed out. I climbed into the back seat and jumped out the back door. Some dude in a truck pulled me out and I drove on a flat to the other side and swapped my tire out. Yeah, I got myself into an accident on a motorcycle a number of years ago. I don't really remember anything about the crash, but I remember basically, as soon as I stood up and realized I was no longer on the bike, a guy driving a dump truck rushed over to check that I was okay and helped me drag the bike off of the tree it had found its way up. I don't think I'll ever forget that. For reference, I was mostly okay aside from some scrapes, bruises, and strains. I was wearing a helmet, an armor jacket, gloves and riding shoes, got rug burn from my jeans on one leg, and felt like I got run over by a truck the next day, but no permanent damage. Edit, I should note I didn't really have an I'm going to die moment, it was more I'm going along. I'm going along. Why can't I lean any farther? Why am I standing on the side of the road? Why is my bike halfway up a tree? Oh, my leg kinda hurts. I went out for a surf on a stormy day and thought to myself, no one else is out, those idiots. Before being held down by 2 waves after eating it on the first wave of the session, was thrown down and held under, and while being tossed around, my leg rope wrapped around both my legs and one of my arms, so I was probably being held at around 5 feet under with only one arm free while my board board tip is barely visible at the surface but floats vertical like a tombstone. Finally managed to catch a breath between sets before taking another 3 or 4 on the head and for sure just thought, well, this is it, no one's out, fishermen will find my body or my board. Managed to get my other arm free and got to shore very quickly and then avoided the ocean for a few days even though the waves were absolutely perfect. There's a reason no one was out. Everyone else was 10 minutes down the road at another beach where the waves were smaller and cleaner. I was driving home from college on one of those highways with only one lane in either direction and no shoulder. A guy in the oncoming lane didn't see me as I was in a small car. He thought he could pass 4 18-wheelers in one go and pulled into my lane going at least 90. There was nowhere for me to go. He flew off into the ditch to avoid hitting me head-on. Likely did severe damage to his car, but I lived. For me, this is the scariest possible thing about driving. I can drive as well as I like. I can be as cautious as I want. I can go as slow as I want. Some idiot could still come flying out onto my side of the road going the wrong way and wipe me out. Just like that. Happened to a family near where I grew up a couple of years back. Some dude got messed up on drugs or something and started driving the wrong way down a highway just like this. He hit the family head on and they all died. He lived, though, as far as I can remember. Edit. Thank you for those of you sharing your stories and experiences with this. It's truly astonishing how much this happens. Those of you suggesting I might drive too cautiously or be living too afraid. I don't and am not. Don't worry, smile. I advocate driving defensively and sensibly. Ensure your speed is appropriate for the conditions on the road. Been driving some years and been in 2 accidents myself, both zero fault on my side. Be sensible, and good luck on the roads to you. I was driving on a main road and I guess someone wanted to left turn onto a side street so much that they just pulled out of their lane and drove down the wrong side. Did the road past several streets, speeding, coming directly for me, and I legit had nowhere to go because so many cars were parked in front of houses so I couldn't even pull over. I just stopped and held my breath until they turned left. It wouldn't have been the most high-impact crash. They were going like 45 and a 25, but fuck. It was scary how deliberate it was, like they chose to drive the wrong way to find this side street. A few days ago I saw someone just about miss their exit on a motorway where everyone was doing 120 kph/70 miles per hour, slammed on their brakes, reversed about 50 feet, indicated and took the exit. All of a sudden there are cars everywhere trying to not cause a pile-up. I wonder if they're just an idiot or are malicious too. I was driving down a highway, doing 65 miles per hour, and suddenly my car started to shake. I tapped the brakes in reflex and my entire car flipped 180 degrees. I'm new facing oncoming traffic, including a semi-truck. I was so close I couldn't see the driver compartment. I screamed and jerked the wheel, bringing me in front of a sedan with 2 people screaming as they watched me appear out of nowhere. I kept screaming and floored the gas pedal, made it to the side of the road and cried for a long time. I had blown a rear tire. Hitting the brakes was a terrible choice. Ease off the gas, put your flashers on so other drivers know there is something amiss, and aim for the shoulder on a shallow angle. Don't just jerk the wheel over. Basically, no sudden movements and get out of the road. When you're down below, say, 5 miles per hour, then you can hit the brakes to come to a full stop. Edit. Some comments below pointed out that you want all 4 wheels off the road and on the same surface if at all possible before you stop. Good point. It's a good rule of thumb anytime the car behaves unexpectedly. Went whitewater rafting on the Gully River and my raft flipped on Pillow Rock, one of the most famous Class B rapids. Scariest moment of my life, but other than unexpectedly swallowing some water and almost vomiting, I came out completely unharmed. Boyfriend finally woke me up shortly after we had fallen asleep in a small upstairs bedroom that had a smoldering fire. After we collapsed on this floor and couldn't find the door that was not even 5 feet away, we kept hitting walls and corners and started to not comprehend anything. After feeling like I was baking in an oven, I laid my head down on the floor thinking I'd never see my son again and how sad it was to die. It felt like eternity and felt very lonely. My boyfriend somehow found his phone on the floor, called 911. Fire department showed up in what felt like 2 seconds but couldn't break down this front door. They shined the flashlight up to window so he could kick out the AC unit, which he did. They finally came upstairs and we crawled to them and they took us straight to the burn unit since they didn't know what shape we were in. I'm pretty sure the entire hospital toured through our rooms since they've never seen anyone make it out and look the way we did. Edit. Holy smokes, I appreciate the love from everyone. I could read and reply all night. I'd totally do an AMLOL. I can't wait for my partner to get home so I can show him this. Thanks guys, smile. I ate one of those Bratch's oval-shaped hard candies. Think they were called sparklets. At home alone when I was 6, got stuck in my throat. I stood there in shock for a few seconds as I started to realize I couldn't breathe. I ran crazily around the room and ended up colliding hard into the back of the couch, which caused the candy to go flying out. Best accidental Heimlich ever. Typo. Edit. My brother had a full blockage from a sour warhead at about 9 years of age. I was the only other one home. On the computer, he bursts in with the purple face, gestures wildly at his throat and then continues his panic circuit around the house. Chased him down, threw him chest first against the kitchen sink and struck him as hard as I could across the back. Candy went flying out, and I released the breath I didn't realize I was holding. What I did in panic was actually close to textbook first aid for a choking victim. When I was 18, I was driving through an intersection with the right-of-way, going 70 km/h, or 43.5 miles per hour. A man in a blue Mazda 3 hatchback decided to run the red light turning left. He was so close to me that I could see the whites of his eyes, and in a split second I thought I'm about to T-bone this guy. Driver's side door and he is going to die. Instinctively I yanked on the wheel and swerved to the right and instantly went over the curb and off the road, onto someone's lawn. I slammed the brakes, but because I was on grass the tires locked and the car kept momentum. I went through their wooden fence and garden, and straight into the brick wall on the side of their house. As soon as I went off the road, I 100% thought I was going to die. My life didn't flash before my eyes, but people close to me did. It could have only been a second or two, but time seemed to slow down and my brain was racing. I thought about how my girlfriend would react, what my parents would say, what my friends would think, etc. When the car hit the wall, it punched a few bricks out of place and the entire front end of the vehicle caved in. The windows shattered, the tires exploded, the doors bent into an L shape and the car started to fill with smoke. However, the radio was still playing Vicarious by Tool. I was concussed by the airbag, broke my nose, jaw, 2 fingers, had whiplash and my left knee was dislocated. I was in shock and couldn't believe that what just happened was real, and so I just sat there kinda freaking out. A group of parents from a birthday party across the street saw what happened and ran to the car and pulled me from it as they thought it was about to catch fire. The man in the Mazda 3 drove away. If it wasn't for the testimony of those parents who told the police they witnessed the man run the intersection and that I didn't do anything wrong, I would have been completely liable for all of the property damage, and additionally insurance would not have replaced the vehicle as it would have been deemed at fault. I am glad nobody else got hurt. Man, that's awesome. There were witnesses. I was glad to get to that part because as I was reading you going on to the lawn and hitting the wall, I was thinking, that's such crap that they would get dinged by their insurance for something not their fault. That's the fucking shitty part about insurance. If you avoid the accident that would have been caused by a reckless driver and they take off, you're screwed with damages to your vehicle for being the one who did nothing wrong. had a paintball fight on Christmas morning with two cousins and their neighbor kid at around 13 years old with our brand new guns we got as gifts. The neighbor got mad, ran home, came back with a shotgun, and pointed at my face. All I remember is looking at the ground and waiting to die. The kid was 11-12. He did have his own paintball gun, and had already shot me a couple times before I got him. He was my cousin's neighbor. I think it was the first time I ever met him. It was 20-ish years ago, as I'm 33 now, so I can't even remember if I told my parents. I don't know if anything happened to him or not. I'll ask my cousin. Too. Cousin said we never told parents. Maybe we were scared of retaliation. I know I never touched that paintball gun again though. Fuck, I wasn't sure I had anything to offer to this thread, but your comment unlocked a memory. About 29 years ago, when I was around 6 years old, I went to a friend's house. My mom and I moved a lot, since we were always renting, so I wasn't great friends with this kid and my mom didn't know their parents all too well. Anyway, I was upstairs in this kid's parents' room. It's just him and me in there, sitting on the floor. He asks if I want to see something cool. Obviously I did. He pulls a box out from under his parents' bed. It was a really nice, shiny wooden box, hefty. He had to put some strength into pulling it out. I couldn't wait to see what was inside. He opens the clasps, lifts the lid, and pulls out a revolver. I was initially curious and probably a little excited to see something I had only seen on television. He then points the revolver directly at me. I freaked out immediately, tried to gain traction as I pushed my feet out from under me. I just fell back and kept pushing myself away from him, and the gun, with my heels. My legs were jelly. I quickly ended up in the hallway, at the top of the stairs, and just let myself fall backwards down the stairs. I rolled to the bottom, jumped up, looked directly at his startled mother, who was standing in the kitchen, none the wiser, and I bolted out the front door. As soon as I got home I told my mom. I remember her going over to their house, without me, immediately after. Never played with that kid again. I have a similar memory. I was a good kid when I was younger and I would hang out at the library. A kid had a knife and pressed it up against me as a joke and it really rattled me. I had nightmares for about a week after that. Another time a friend pointed a gun at us as a joke. Real fucking stupid. And I swear you can almost feel the tension in the area they are pointing at. I can't imagine how scary that must have been, especially at that age. This reminds me of when I was probably 10 and I had just gotten a new pocket knife for my birthday. I grew up on a farm and actually used it all the time for doing chores. I took it to a friend's house and was showing it to him. He took it and pretended to stab me in the stomach but stopped right before he actually did. I yelled at him that was idiotic and to give it back. He just laughed. Some kids are taught to respect dangerous tools and some have no clue. I never trusted that friend the same again. Trying to get a reaction out of people with weapons is one of the worst things you could do. A girl I graduated with died that way. She was at her boyfriend's apartment and his roommate came in messing with a handgun, taking the mag in and out, etc. and she asked him to stop because it was freaking her out. So he pointed it at her, and he didn't think he got enough of a reaction because to scare her more, he pulled the trigger. He claims he didn't realize there were bullets in it but he had been playing with the mag long enough to know that, and he should have definitely known better than to point the gun at her at all. The hood on my car came open at 60 on the highway and completely blocked my sight in heavy traffic. I panicked and jerked the wheel a little bit, which caused me to fishtail a little bit. I shit you not, my driver's education teacher's words from 5 years prior rang in my head to lean down and look through the space at the bottom of the hood. I pulled over and used some wire I found in the trunk to keep the hood closed. Anytime you close your hood, make sure it latches securely by pulling on the hood like you're trying to lift the front of the car off the ground. Jesus. This is a lot more common than I thought. I was behind a car on the interstate that had the hood pop open like that. Fortunately, the young guy driving didn't panic, just slowed down slowly. I stuck behind him and another guy pulled up alongside him and sorta blocked traffic so he could pull over to the shoulder, get him to the shoulder and the other guy, and I donated a couple ratchet straps to hold his hood down. Got him all set up and he went on up the road with the other guy following him since he was going the same way. That young dude was scared shitless, but his calm reaction probably prevented a major accident due to the amount of high-speed traffic around him.